Hey everyone, Melissa Wick here. I own Wick Law Offices, a small business law firm here in Columbus, Ohio. I support small business owners in all facets of business ownership. So today we're talking about a common problem I'm seeing a lot of this year, and it is about contracts, and it's something called scope creep. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about what that is. And I think probably most of you understand, but it's sort of when you have a contract with a client and you think you understand what the scope of your services entail. However, as the work starts to unfold and the contract starts to unfold, what you find is that maybe you're being expected to perform, services that are kind of beyond the scope of what you originally anticipated. And so a lot of people run into this, and I'm dealing with a litigation that has this exact problem. What I'm going to talk to you today is about how to avoid scope creep and what you can do with your contracts to make sure that you have at least a way of addressing it if it happens to you. So I'm going to talk about 4 things that you can do to avoid scope creep in your contracts. The first thing is define the project really, really clearly, right? It's just important to say that what you think is obvious might not be obvious to your client. And even if it's obvious to both of you, make sure you write it down, right? That's pretty simple, but one of the things I notice that people just sort of take for granted. The second thing you can do to avoid scope creep is to list the details, man. Like, list all the details in there. The more detail, the better when it comes to the services you're going to provide, right? So if there are things your client needs to do in order for you to do the work, you need to list that in your contract, right? You don't want to have your ability to perform your obligations to be dependent on your client and have your client not doing their part of the deal, and then you're sort of stuck with them alleging that you're breaching, right? So this happens, believe it or not, this happens all the time. So put the details in your contract. Explain everything that you're going to provide, timelines if you can, when they can expect the deliverables, and then also state what your client needs to do under the contract as well. The third thing you can do to avoid scope creep is to anticipate the problems, right? Like, the more you do your line of work or the more you perform your services, you'll probably start to see like common things that come up, right? So, you can draft your contract around that. Like, a really well written contract anticipates the problems. For instance, in my own contract, I do a lot of flat fee contract work, and I put in there the parameters of what that covers, right? So that in the event I have a client that changes their mind over and over and over again, I'm not stuck doing work under the flat fee agreement, right? I can say, hey, this work falls within the scope of this contract, but if we start to go outside of it, we're gonna do another billing arrangement, right? So I love helping people kind of come up with their own solutions for those problems and put them right in the contract. And then the last thing I'm going to say is that if you do expand the scope, make sure your underlying contract can anticipate that and will incorporate those changes into the original contract, right? So what you don't want is that you've negotiated a new separate contract, right, that deals with these other issues, right? You want to make whatever agreement you come up with your client a part of the original contract, so that all of the terms and conditions in that original contract apply to the new work, right? So that's also something that a good lawyer ought to be able to help you with. And I really love this work. I do litigation around contract disputes all the time. So I'm really good at spotting, common stumbling blocks for people. So if you want any help with this, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, hey, my name is Melissa Wick. I own Wick Law Offices, a small business law firm here in Columbus, Ohio. If you want to get a hold of me, my phone number is 614-572-6366. If you want to know more about the kind of law I practice, go to my website. It's www.mwicklaw.com. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.